Hey everyone, so real quick, told you so. For those not playing the home game, #1 period tracker on the App Store will hand over data without a warrant. This is Stardust Period Tracker, the most downloaded. Now this is from June 27th, so this could have changed. Last update was 6/27. Following Motherboard's request for comment, Stardust changed its privacy policy to omit the phrase about cooperating with law enforcement whether or not legally enforced. So they puss out. They basically threw little to no push were willing to backtrack on that. But that also means that there's very little push that they'll need to go back to it. So just keep that in mind. So with this information being a little bit out of date, we want to talk about why this is important again, because Zena's a tech person. Mm-hmm. I like people's personal information being protected. We generally dislike this stuff a lot.
The big thing that I want to clarify for people as we're talking about this stuff is that it is very difficult to have anything that you are doing on the internet be 100,000% perfectly private. That is very, very difficult to do. Okay. But I still recommend doing the best that you can and being very picky about what services, what apps you use. Okay. Being picky about what emails you use, right? Or what email providers that you use, what search engines you use, what domain name server you use. All right. All of these ways that you can choose can make a difference. And if you need more information, go definitely do, an internet search on it. There's a lot of data out there.
Stardust, an astrology-focused menstrual tracking app that launched on the App Store last year, is one of Apple's top 3 most downloaded free apps right now. From sometime around Sunday evening until Monday mid-morning, it was in the #1 spot. It's also one of very few apps that has put in writing that it will voluntarily, without even being legally required to comply with law enforcement if it's asked to share user data.
Yeah. So again, they backtracked on this, but the reality is that
that's still horrifying.
Yeah. This app was willing to sell your data out immediately to the feds.
Well, not even just the feds, just law enforcement in general. That means that any law enforcement could just be like, hey, we want it. Hey, give it to us now. Whether or not it's relevant to what they're even doing.
No, absolutely.
After the fall of Roe on Friday, ending the constitutional right to an abortion and making abortion illegal in more than a dozen states, many people used Twitter to urge others to delete their period tracking apps for privacy and security reasons. A widely shared concern is that law enforcement can use personal data created in apps against people who've sought or gotten abortions illegally. Despite this, more people are downloading Stardust, which combines astrology with menstrual cycle tracking right now than some of the most downloaded apps in history. As of Monday morning, on the iOS App Store, Stardust was ranking above hugely popular apps including TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
Jesus.
It was ranking above BeReal and NGL, 2 apps that have recently gone viral with teens.
Did you guys hear that? That's bigger than TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram on the iOS store. Do you guys understand how big that is?
That's huge. That's amazing, honestly. That's huge.
For make-believe about stars and tracking your menstrual cycle.
Stardust seems to have done a decent job of jumping on this moment when everyone is screaming into the Twitter void to delete your period tracking app, by marketing itself as the choice for safety-conscious people to track their cycles. The app has less than 300 followers on Twitter, but has made viral TikToks talking about privacy and landed coverage in Mashable. Its Twitter bio is Privacy First Period Tracking App.
So, despite all of its privacy-first marketing, Stardust states that its privacy policy that if cops ask for user data, it will comply whether legally required to or not, and claims that the data is anonymized and encrypted.
When we say encrypted, that doesn't, I don't know if that means a whole lot in this situation. Depending on how, there's a couple different ways of doing it, but basically it goes from your phone to the other end, but the other end that has it can still do whatever they want with it. Just because it's encrypted on the other end doesn't mean
that they have the encryption.
They have the encryption. They have the way to see what the data is. Okay.
But we put it in puzzle pieces, but you guys have the puzzle picture in front of you.
Yeah, pretty much. So, this doesn't really mean anything right here.
So this was the language specifically these assholes used.
We may disclose your anonymized, encrypted information to third parties in order to protect the legal rights, safety, and security of the company and the users of our services, enforce our terms of service, prevent fraud, and comply with or respond to law enforcement or a legal process or a request for cooperation by a government or other entity, whether or not legally required.
Yeah, so already you can see that this is insane. Again, this is a big I told you so, is that we talked about this in a previous video. We discussed the fact that there was a very real possibility that these apps could hand over your data. And though this one did backtrack, this is a big talking point right now. Now, I want to just come back to this. Security and privacy tips for people seeking abortion. Again, we've talked about this in the other video, but just as a reminder, I'll put this in the chat, but it does talk about remembering to never remember history, making sure to clear cookies and everything out of your system. If you're calling clinics or healthcare providers, consider keeping a secondary phone number like a Google Voice one, a Hushed, or a Burner. Right? Both of those are paid apps, but they have significantly better privacy policies than Google Voice.
Signal also allows for encrypted calling, by the way. That goes with a phone number, but that does allow, so if you and another person both have Signal, that would protect you. So that may not be the bestest for other providers, but if you are coordinating with other people, no, use Signal.
Also, if you need an email that's relatively has good privacy protection, what is this? Tutanota? And then Proton Mail. I know a lot of people use Proton Mail. One way to get around privacy is to get a burner phone, meaning a phone that's not connected to your normal cell phone account. But keeping a super secure burner phone may be hard for some people because it's expensive. So
that's just like you could get like a cheap flip phone or tiny keyboard phone from the store, you know, and just pay with like, you can get like the top-up cards and just pay for those things with cash at the store, or you could use like a Visa gift card and again, do that at the store and then use that instead because that's at least not attached as much to you. Again, any law enforcement that's trying hard enough can still figure this stuff out, but does it protect you more in general and is it a lot better than the alternative? Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah. They also talk about turning off ad identifiers on your phone. They've laid out apps here. So again, this will be in the link down below.
Yeah. So this is a lot of different services like to target ads at you. Okay. That's what we're talking about is turning off those features.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a Find My Features, like Apple's function to be able to see where your phone is from other computers. That stuff's useful. You want to make sure to consider turning that off.
Yep.
Then we get into things like lock and encryption, delete and turn off. Deleting things from your phone and computer isn't as easy as it sounds for all your sensitive data that, yada yada. This stuff is important. Learning how to actually properly delete things on your computer and your phone is important. This stuff is a big deal because if you want to get an abortion and you want the ability to, actually be able to do this in a way where you are not going to take the penalties from a bad state, guess what? That's a thing.
If they want to subpoena and come take your hard drives, for example, they could. Oh, and guess what? Let's say you do have data stored there. There's ways to get to that data, even if you deleted it. You think you deleted it. There's still ways to get to it because there's some complicated ways in which data actually stores on a disk. Okay.
So I'm going to put this in the chats, but I highly recommend reading it.
Second, I got one thing to show people. So I found some calendar templates online, and then I kind of put them in the order that I needed them to be, and I made sticker pages out of them for my bullet journal. So here's those, right? And so for me, I put a circle with an arrow to show the start and end of PMDD, and then I also do a line at the bottom of the square to show when my period is, and I add more lines if it's really heavy or noteworthy that day. And that's how I'm tracking it, is just pen and paper. If you need to track more things on here, definitely feel free to reach out to your PCP or your gynecologist and ask, more about how to do that manually by hand. Trust me, I guarantee you they know about that stuff. It might just be asking, the right questions or figuring out what kind of tracking is useful for you. Some people it's helpful to know when your period is. Other people, PMDD. Other people are, looking at pregnancy prevention. So just keep in mind, you can ask your healthcare providers for help with how to do this stuff manually. So you don't have to worry as much about an app. Okay?
Also, that link I just gave you has a reading for how to go to a protest safely. EFF is really good. The Electronic Frontier Foundation is really good for digital safety and privacy. Again, nothing is perfect, but we can make things better. This is stuff that a lot of lefties don't talk about and don't bring up. We try to bring it up here because we want you guys safe out there, okay?
And at this point, internet safety and data safety just needs to be part of our regular everyday safety, right? That's just how it needs to be nowadays.
All right. So tomorrow we'll be talking more about this because there's a link there's a story that came up. But we will cover that more then. So with that said, I don't think I have anything else on this.
No, that's it.
Folks, just please protect yourselves. Check out these articles and links, and we will end our segment here. All right?
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, consider donating to us. You can support us on our website, transgirltherapist.org. You can also help us on our Patreon, link below, or you can become a member here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.